What's up, everybody? My name is Brad, and today I've got another book review for you guys, and I'm going to be talking about Skullface Boy by Chad Lutzke. This was a buddy read I did with my friend Nikki from I Read Past My Bedtime, and I'll put a link to her channel down in the description. Her review should be out today as well, so definitely be sure you go and check out her thoughts and what she has to say about it. Me and Nikki, or Nikki and I, we actually buddy read another of Chad's books. I want to say back maybe in March. We read The Pale White together, and we both enjoyed that one. For me, this is my fourth experience reading Chad Lutzke. I read Out Behind the Barn, collaboration with him and John Bowden, The Pale White, The Neon Owl, and now Skullface Boy. I do have reviews for all those other ones up there. If I can remember, I'll try to put a link to the Chad Lutzke playlist that has all those reviews on it. But I have loved everything that I've read so far from Chad. Chad is definitely not only just one of my favorite indie or small press authors, he's turning into just one of my favorite authors of all time in general. If you haven't read any of him, you definitely need to check it out. He's a very versatile author. Everything I've read from him has felt different story-wise, but everything has that Chad Lutzke bit of magic and flair to it. I'll go ahead and read the synopsis for Skullface Boy real quick, and then get into my thoughts and everything about the book. My name is Levi. I'm 16, and I've got a skull for a face, and here's how shit went down. Having never been outside the walls of Graham Jones foster care facility, 16-year-old Levi leaves in the middle of the night with an empty backpack and a newfound lust for life. A journey that leads him into the arms of delusional newlyweds, drunkards, polygamists, the dangerous, and the batshit crazy. His destination? Hermosa Beach, California, where he's told there is another like him with a face of a skull. A coming-of-age road trip filled with the surreal, Lynchian encounters exploring the dark, the disturbing, and the lonely in a 1980s world. An epic adventure for one disfigured boy struggling to find his place in the world. So like I said, this is my fourth time reading Chad Lutzke, and everything has felt different, but they've all had that same Chad Lutzke sort of magic to them. I really, really love his writing style. It's hard to put into words why I like it so much. It feels genuine. There's something magical about it, but none of the stories have like actual magical elements to them. Just sort of like a nostalgic feel to each one. And it's a simplistic style, and I mean that as the best compliment I can give. There's nothing frivolous or extra stuff added onto it. He tells you what you need to know, gets right down to the basics, but there's just a flow and a cadence and a style to his writing that you just don't find in many other authors' works. All of the stuff I've read by him, it's all been super short, novella length. But everything packs such a punch that you would normally take a couple hundred pages to start to get to and care for characters and whatnot. But Chad, he's always able to do that basically instantaneously. You always care for his characters right off the bat. Like I said, there's just a genuine caring heart into all of his writing. I'm sure he spends lots of time and work and effort into his writing, but it always comes across as just effortlessly, if I can talk. Same comes across effortlessly on the page. Just like he flows out of him. He is a natural born storyteller. Like the synopsis said, we're following Levi. He's 16, he's a teenager. He's been in foster care basically his entire life. He was adopted into that. And he's odd. He has a skull for a face, a literal skull. There's no skin. From the picture on the cover, it doesn't look like he has actual eyes or anything, just a skull for a face. So naturally, with that disfigurement, he's an outcast, he's an oddball. He's sort of been picked upon and looked down upon his entire life. And basically his whole life he's lived in these walls of the foster care facility. He doesn't really know what's beyond the walls other than what he's seen in movies and read in books and heard on the radio. He's a big Kiss fan. And that's another thing I really liked about it. The 80s setting felt very nostalgic. It felt very a simpler time before we had cell phones and social media and Twitter, the story I don't think would have worked as well if it was set in modern day. There's just that something about the 80s, that essence of the 80s, that lends a lot to the story. But anyway, like it says, he basically leaves the facility. He goes on this adventure, this journey to Hermosa Beach, where he has heard stories that there might be someone else there like him. He's always felt alone. No one else looks like him. He feels like an outcast, and he wants someone else, someone he can relate to. And so that's what his goal is when he sets out. So he starts to hitchhike, and he comes across numerous odd and colorful characters along the way. Just some examples: he comes across a one-armed man, and he comes across an overweight lady who has cancer, and so on like this. And when I was talking to Nikki about it, I said that it seems like everyone he comes across has a societal blemish, and that was the best way I could describe it. And what I mean by that is they have something about them, whether it's physically something with them or mentally with them, that seems like society as a whole would look down upon. The disabled guy with one arm, or the overweight lady and she has cancer. Those are things that as a society, at least in the United States, that we would look down upon, we'd frown upon and whatnot. And it seems like everyone he came across had something like that. And I feel like Chad, and I don't know whether this was on purpose or not, I feel like Chad was sort of letting us, the reader, explore along with Levi and experience that, not everyone is perfect. Everyone has some sort of flaw with them, whether it's, maybe a bigger flaw, more obvious flaw, or a smaller flaw. No one is perfect. And, who is anyone to judge someone else for their flaws when we all have our own flaws that could be judged by others? So that was an experience that Levi was getting to learn. There are not necessarily other people like him with a skull face, but there are other people that have flaws, and it's not just him. He's not alone in this world. No one else is perfect. No one should feel like they're less adequate because they look a certain way or have maybe a certain disability or anything like that. We're all humans. We all should be treated equal and whatnot. And I feel like this is a very timely story for all the craziness that is going on in the world today. No matter what you look like, what your race is, sex, religion, whatever, we're all humans. We all should be treated equally. And I feel like that is sort of the theme behind all this that Chad was sort of trying to get across. There are some, I know Chad gets lumped into the horror community a lot, and I think even, and I might be wrong, I feel like I've heard Chad in an interview or on a podcast say, his writing is not really horror. I agree with that. Nothing I've read by him has just been straight up horror, but that's not to say there are not darker elements to his writing, some gruesome moments. The same as here, there are darker parts of the story, some gruesome scenes in here, but overall it's really not a horror story. It's coming of age, just adventure and exploring what life has to offer sort of story. And I really enjoyed it. The ending here, this was a hitchhiking odyssey of self-discovery brimming with heart. Chad Lutzke's Skullface Boy is a feel-good story about embracing our differences and learning that no matter what, no one is truly ever alone. I thoroughly enjoyed this story. Probably the most feel-good, sort of happy story I've read in a while. It does sort of have a cliffhanger-ish ending. I really did like the ending, but always with Chad's work, this is my complaint, but not really a complaint. I'm always left wanting more with Chad's work. It always ends, and I wish there was more when I turn the next page. All of his stories seem like he's capturing a snapshot with these certain characters we're following. Whether it's Levi in this story, or the girls from A Pale White, or the children from Out Behind the Barn, whatever it is, it seems like he's great at just capturing this snapshot, this moment in time with these characters. And I'm always wanting him to, at the end, pan the camera just a little bit more so we get a little bit more story. But I think if these were longer stories and books, they wouldn't have that same Chad Lutzke, magic quality to them that he gives us. Well, that's all I have to say about Skullface Boy. Definitely a 5-star read, sort of a feel-good story with everything that's going on right now. An odd, weird, feel-good story. But that's all I have for you guys today. Again, this has been my 5-star review of Chad Lutzke's Skullface Boy. Do yourself a favor. If you're not reading Chad Lutzke, definitely go out and check some of his stuff out. He is a fantastic author. And him, I don't know him personally, but we've talked on Twitter and stuff every now and then. He seems to be a genuinely kind and caring guy. Just a really good dude. Well, that's all I have to say about it. So thank you for spending your time with me. Again, my name is Brad, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.